We're live. It's Friday, the 13th. Ooh. It's Anytime with Ken and Alden. I'm Ken.
I'm Alden.
That's Alden.
Ken Knapsack reporting live from the non-existent battlefields of Los Angeles.
Yes.
What rank is he? We don't know.
Don't know yet.
No one knows. I think you could probably start definitely above private if when the Los Angeles coalition forms. You've done enough.
I think I might be starting at a captain. I'll go captain. I don't want to go higher than that. Higher than that, you're pushing papers too much. You're a paper pusher. Not as fun. You're not boots on the ground.
Sure. And you're a man of the people that way. You need to be down there inspiring the troops.
People.
Ken's trying to go down there, and it's a city full of actors, so he'll be doing speeches from Glory, and he won't be able to get away with it. People will be like, "That's from Glory."
Train them well, Major. Train them well. Yes.
Oh, waited to get Lauren Michaels on the phone. A city full of actors forming a militia. Writing that down just for.
Rob Schneider is Captain Bing Bang or some stupid name. I don't know.
Hello, everybody. Says Coop says boots with a fur on the ground. Correct. Cam Stewart. Hope you're safe in LA from the absolute invasion. Oh my God! Total hostile takeover. It's hilarious, honestly, to hear the contrast. We'll talk about that a lot of what's being said, what's actually happening. But first of all, of course, Ken, how are you?
I'm sure. Yeah, I'm okay. I'm okay. My life, I live one of those lives which could be easily unaffected. So you have to choose to be affected. And that's where I live most of my days. I mean, I am definitely affected by, a lot of things going on in my life, which are related to a lot of the bigger issues. But you know what I mean.
Sure.
And
sure.
I am planning. I think we're going out to one of the No Kings Day things tomorrow at an undisclosed location. I just don't want you to find me, Alden.
Sure.
But overall, man, it's been here's how I look at the news of the world right now. There was a plane crash in India where over like 260, 70, maybe 290 including people on the ground, 290 people died, one survivor. In my youthful days, when I was a kid, that would have been the story for a month, Alden. Yes. That would have been the lead every night on Nightly. Tom Brokaw here, now the FAA is the black box recovered. Like that was
what plane crash would have been a thing that everyone was saying.
Crash. Yeah, and which back then it doesn't mean that was the only thing going on. It's just that's how our news cycle worked. And so this is that's a year ago. It happened yesterday morning for our local time. And that's just where I'm. When you ask how am I, that's just we're just boom, all of us constantly boom, 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 boom.
Yeah. This was one of those weeks for me as well, where it's like I've been trying to push myself back into my maximum plugged in mode. I've been trying to re-engage with everything after taking a few weeks of more casualness. Been playing Fortnite with some of these losers, and so it's like that's been taking.
I've been hearing that. Yeah.
You and I still haven't crossed paths.
You're ducking me. That's why you're ducking me.
All right. Let's address the truth of this. Let's address the truth. Is that it just so happens that you decided to become Mr. Social Butterfly again right when I picked up your homebody ass game. Because once I picked up the game, then you're like, oh, I have a baby shower. Oh, I'm going to a birthday party. Oh, I'm doing this. And there he goes. Now he wants to be social again. So you're ducking me.
I'm going to a comedy show tonight, I think. Yeah. Okay. See? All right. That's fair. I haven't even seen your name pop up.
Well, I don't think we're friends. We haven't added each other. We texted each other our usernames, which is a big step. That's like flirting. And so now we have to actually add each other. And the other part, too, is that you don't play with everybody that wants to play with you. So
that's true.
We have to coordinate who is the squad before we get on.
That's true. That's true. I'm really not even intentional. I want to be clear. It's not intentional. I don't have like a list on my wall. Jerry, no. Scotty, yes. No, I don't have that. But it's just It's a yeah. All right. Well, I'll take
Steve,
it.
Steve Buscemi. Steve Buscemi with the lipstick, like crossing off names.
I just sometimes I just want to be. You know, I don't want to be on sometimes. That's all I'll say.
Yeah. No. Well, I understand that. We'll talk about it some more. It's been fun. But yeah. So outside of that, I've been getting more plugged in, and it has been just being pummeled, just feeling constantly depressed. We have our main story. You know, we half jokingly called the Battle of Los Angeles because it's a non-existent battle. And you know, we'll talk about that as the main thing. There's some fun stuff we'll get to, some light stuff up top. But then there's like smaller stories as well. Like just now, despite court order, Mahmoud Khalil they're not going to release him because they can just ignore the courts now.
They can.
You know, we've crossed that bridge. You know, firing God, what's his name? I forget the gentleman's name now. I just blanked, from ABC for tweeting about
Terry Moran. Yeah.
Terry Moran, for saying the most G-rated, not even that bad at all. He didn't even use a swear word. Like all he said, we basically called him a stooge, you know, in so many words. And ABC
he was less offensive than an episode of Andor with the shit word in it.
Yeah, exactly. And as we know, Andor, the manual for everything that's happening right now and nothing else. It's just like it blows my mind in so many different levels that they just get to dog walk the entire populace whenever they want. Well, the federal court said this. Well, we don't have to do that. Well, you hurt, but then on the same breath, you hurt my feelings. Fire that guy. Like it's a giant tantrum that in a lot of ways has reached its next level, I would say, with Los Angeles. So we'll get to that, but there are some things in the chat that people want me to address, which we'll get to. There's multiple people I've already decided. Now I will say, you know what? Well, let's just start there. I was going to try to do a radio tease, but you know, who am I to deny?
What are we doing? No, no one cares about our radio tease.
Who cares? Yeah, it's like we're not. What? I'm not giving shit away. Tully Quinn, need Alden's reaction to the Dua Lipa news. We had Jared, get ready for an Alden crash on Dua Lipa officially engaged. Well, here's the thing, all of y'all, real Dua heads knew that she was engaged already. So this news is just trickling down to you casuals. So let's address that first. British Vogue came out yesterday. All right, not today. So I already knew this information, and it's on a speculative level. Then it was confirmed in this interview, and now it's the next day. So I'm on galaxy brain right now of processing what's happening with Dua Lipa. But I've said this before. I said it when she was dating that French filmmaker. I said it when she was macking on Trevor Noah for a little while. I said it when she got with this guy. People think that because I love her, that I'm gonna be some fanboy like, fuck that guy. Who am I to look at somebody doing Herculean feats and decry him? I cheer for this guy. I cheer for him.
Who am I to blow?
I need heroes. I need heroes.
I know. Yeah, you need heroes. As a Gaga fan, it's that Franco meme from the Coen Brothers movie. First time, huh? You know, this is our second or maybe a third, no, a second engagement with Gaga. I feel it's I love playing into the joke too. By the way, like of the you know, like I absolutely publicly courting Amelia Clark as a joke. You know, and it's like,
But however,
this
if she wants to take it seriously,
hit
us up.
But I love. We don't have that because we're aware. But I love. There's some guys like, oh yeah, here's my chance. Okay.
Yeah. The when she broke up with her previous guy before this man, people were like, big news for my buddy Steve that likes all her photos. Like that was a viral tweet. But it's like, so it's like there's that comedy angle of it too. But Brady, you got reverse Uno'd. Yeah, I'm happy for Callum Turner because it's good to know that incredible things are possible. It's good to know that by all accounts, he's talented. He's an actor. He's been in things I've seen, but like he doesn't have to me like the immense like godly aura that I think she could pull, and I like that. They asked her like, what did they? Yeah, they asked her like, what's your favorite thing? You know that Cal makes or something, and she just described the way that he makes breakfast, and she was so happy talking about the breakfast. And I was like, this is nice.
Yeah, you want to root for these people to have some sort of sense of normalcy in their crazy lives because that's what it's at. I mean, Dua Lipa's on a roll because Patti Smith also came out and pegged her as a feminist icon for this modern age, and like that's a big stamp of
Said
approval.
that she would like follow her anywhere or something like that. Yeah, I haven't read the full British Vogue piece. I will say the photo shoot for the British Vogue piece was enough dopamine, serotonin, whichever one is better, hits on my brain to push me through toward the end of the week. I'm glad it hit on Thursday because I was on fumes, and then I saw swole Dua Lipa on the cover of British Vogue. She's looking yoked right now.
Yoked.
Like
the lead singer of Wet Leg.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, exactly like that. I'm going to trust you on whatever that means.
Catch these fists.
But yeah, so that was the first positive thing that I want to touch on, and here it came up. I was going to bring it up from the British Vogue angle, but then of course, yes, the engagement. Congratulations. Will I receive my due invite? Probably not.
I hope
I should be allowed. Frankly, I should be allowed to make a speech. I feel like I've put in that time. Yeah. But then the other positive thing that I wanted to touch on that has nothing to do with her, although I would love to see her, of course, in this project or any project. Before we get to the serious stuff, the Schwarz Awakens, Ken. The Schwarz Awakens. Now, some people thought this was the announcement of the movie. It wasn't. We knew it was being made because they had posted the script page, and Josh Gad had said, I think, late last year that they were working on this.
Right.
So this has been out there. It's Josh Gad co-writing with Svates and Hernandez, I believe are their last names. The gentleman who did a lot of the Lego Star Wars specials, which is a pretty cool team to get for something like this. And they're co-writing, Mel Brooks producing and starring, which means that when it releases, he'll be 101. And I sincerely hope that he's get to be there for when the film comes out. Although I'm sure he's aware of the comedy of if he plays yogurt and then dies, might add to the joke.
And he looked good. I mean, in that video, he looked good.
No, he looks. Yeah, he's maintained.
Smart. Yeah, absolutely. Goals, man. Goals.
There it is. Oh, Salmon and Hernandez. Yes. And yeah, I mean, like we've talked a little bit about Spaceball before on the show. I think when the script got announced, but I love the way that it's coming together so far. And this is not a movie news show, but it just feels relevant. Comedy, Star Wars, all that stuff. One, the fact that they also get to hit the 50th anniversary is hilarious. I think that is great because it's like attaching themselves to something that they weren't invited to. And that's perfect for Spaceballs, I think. And then the confirmation of all surviving original cast members returning, including Rick Moranis coming out of retirement, that they announced that off the bat.
Yeah.
Which is huge because you got Pullman. I forget her name. Maybe Eli knows.
Daphne Zuniga. Yeah.
Daphne Zuniga coming back. And then they said, and Rick Moranis returning as Lord Dark Helmet. And I was like, damn, okay. And then Pullman's son, Lewis Pullman, fresh off Thunderbolts, being confirmed as one of the stars. And one of the trades reported that he will be playing Lone Star's son, Starburst, which is awesome. Love that. And I just, I'm excited about it. I think that it's a good time. I was talking with Eli, who's here in the comments, and Jared from the Nerd Academy as well, about how I'm very glad that this did not happen in the 2000s at the height of those parodies like Scary Movie and Epic Movie and things like that. Because that was mean-spirited, and that was look at how dumb genre is and look at how much we can shit on things, whereas Spaceballs is never mean-spirited. Like none of those jokes, all those jokes clearly come from a place of inside humor and love or just basic stupidity. Like as Jared pointed out when we talked about it last night off air, he's like, the harshest they go on Star Wars is this is a merchandise machine. It's like, it's not mean. And I think that now we are at a place where we can do a Spaceballs 2 that is once again full of love. Whereas had Spaceballs 2 happened during prequel times, it would have been all Jar Jar and it would have been all look at he kissed his sister. It would have been it.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. Oh, question?
just any Spaceballs thoughts. I don't expect you to be a Spaceballs diehard fan.
I am not a huge fan of Spaceballs. So I am a fan of Mel Brooks. I don't like a lot of his stuff either, but he's one of the most important people, I think, in comedy and has beyond his producing resume, everything. He is tremendously important. So I'm excited for those excited for this. I agree with you very much that it's coming out at a better time than even 10 years ago. If it had even been 10 years ago, I think it would have been buried in everything you're talking about, too, because that stuff is still going on, right? Still had conversations this past weekend where the Jar Jar jokes were flying because no one knows that we don't do that anymore. And so, yeah, I'm excited. I like Josh Gad. I'm not familiar with the writers, though I do like the holiday Lego specials. I think are great. So I think it's a good team. And just, I'm rooting for Mel Brooks to cross the finish line with this. That's a good thing. That's a good thing. But I am. I think I've talked about it. I struggle with Star Wars humor. I struggle with anyone who's like, "Hey, have you seen that thing where like it's a talk show because it's really like it's George Lucas and everything?" I don't find it funny, and I get really defensive about Star Wars. So because of what you've talked about, that's not necessarily present in Spaceballs. To be clear,
sure. Yeah.
Did I put a little water on your campfire, Alton?
No. I mean, look. Again, I'm trying to do what you're doing, which is like not shit on specific things. But there are those things that are big and include some hilarious names, and like people come through for the show or the script readings and the things and everything. And I don't buy the streaming tickets. I don't buy it's not even that I don't find them funny. It's just that sometimes I'm like, I get a little bit. This is going to be a really difficult thing to articulate. And I'm already struggling with the thought. I am kind of like very much of the mind of like, why do you get to use all this stuff that you didn't create? And like why do you why do you get to have like 40 crutches? But then it's also like, but I also like SNL, so am I a hypocrite? No.
I try to own that it's all on me. On me. I don't think anyone approaches it with. I've had all that stuff kind of explained to me. I know a lot of the people in some of the things you're talking about, but I just avoid them. Because I don't trust that everyone's gathering for the right reasons. Just like I was invited to with a lot of that crew, the script reading crew, invited to a screening in August of the original release of New Hope. It's like, well, you don't even have that. That was changed the first weekend. Like, there's no original release available. And I just like, I'd like to see it. I like to be there. I don't think people are showing up for the right reasons in general, and so I avoid it. And that kind of translated to Spaceballs at one point for me too. Also, I'm not a huge. I don't like Schmeckle and my Dougal humor, which is what I think a lot of parodies that Mel Brooks puts out kind of boil down to. But Mel Brooks is so like even May the Schwarz be with you is Schmeckle and my Dougal humor, and but he is so much more than that. Like he is so much more than that. He's very important to me in the world of comedy, the history of comedy, to be clear. So I'm complicated on that, Alden. I feel all right. I'm gonna go.
No, it's interesting. I'm glad we talked about it. I am very much of the mind of liking to see old people do whatever it is that they did one more time. Yeah. I love stuff like that. The fact that Moranis is going to be there is a
huge
surprise, and I'm excited that he's doing it. So yeah, we'll see how it goes. Cam wants you to explain Schmeckle on my Dougal before.
It's a very Borscht Belt and Bible Belty old style of comedy that might be based in tropes. So I apologize if it comes off as like mocking a group of people, but it's a little bit of like, and then the doctor said, you got a Schmeckle on my Dougal. Hey, and I just can't stand it. I just can't stand it.
Yeah. Very, very old timey.
Yeah.
A little bit like,
Yeah.
I don't know what the word is.
Not that old timey can't be poignant or Abbott and Costello. I used to watch Laurel and Hardy. It's not even that, but it's that Borscht Belt comedy, that the Catskills and all that stuff, which is an old style that I think some of it's present in some of the parodies and stuff like that. So that's all. That's all. But again, I want to acknowledge, Alden, I'm at the party as the asshole. Because everyone's, including you, like, yeah, and I'm just like, I'm learning to just fade into the corner like Boba Fett at Jabba's palace.
Give a little chin touch, to the little purple baddie that walked by you. I think she was purple. So yeah, Spaceballs, Dua Lipa.
Well, I'm trying to think if there's anything else. I'll go see it with you.
Oh, yes, you will.
Nikki's not invited. Kumar's got to sit this one out.
No, Nicky can get in on his own merits. At this point, he's but part of my love of Spaceballs, Nick Arcus says, part of my love of Spaceballs, aside from enjoying Milber's comedies, I grew up in the dark times between Jedi and Phantom Menace. Star Wars was over. Back then, there was a line for Star Wars. That's valid. Yeah. I also kind of treated it not as another Star Wars movie when I was a kid, but like it was one of the things I could get into for the aesthetic. Or
yes, I saw it in the theater, man. I saw it in the theater.
Yeah, I liked catching, and also it's, as our audience probably knows, it's not just a Star Wars parody. So it's like as you watched more movies, you found more jokes. As
this one seems to be aiming to be as well, right? It seems to be more of a industry-wide, franchise-wide kind of thing. So that's interesting too.
Yeah, like Pablo Hidalgo said, probably aptly, like this could be the walk hard for legacy sequels. And I'm like, yes. It probably could be. I like okay, so we talked about the two most important things on my mind right now, which are Dua Lipa and the Schwarz Awakens. Is there other stuff that's happened that's good this week, Ken, that you want to touch on? Anything that brought you any joy whatsoever?
Yeah, no, look, man, no, for me being in LA, there is a stronger sense of community, and we all have just anecdotal evidence of what has been going on in LA, which is not unique to any other place in the country and not unique to things in the past and won't be unique to the future, unfortunately. But there's definitely a lot of I love LA vibes that I think is important. And I even went out Wednesday night to Los Feliz night market.
Los Feliz?
Los Feliz. That's how you say it. That's the guy's name that was named after, just so we all know. That's actually the history.
So it's not,
the name.
It's not Los Feliz you say Los Feliz.
Los Feliz is his name. That was his name. Feliz was his name. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, that's the history of it.
Do the Latino people there also say Los Feliz?
I saw a person I saw a Latino person doing it was,
It's crazy to me.
Yeah.
Crazy. Anyway,
because I understand. Yeah, I come from a town where Paso Robles is how you say it, but I would not say that's correct in the grand scheme of things, but the city is called Paso Robles, and we're always correcting people, but it's like then it just spirals into a conversation. But it's like Prescott, Arizona. It's not Prescott. It's Prescott because it's a name. I went out to this night market, 10 vendors, small event, and it was a great vibe, and everyone selling and serving the food there was brown. And everyone was serving food from their heart, and everyone was there, and pictures were taken, and it seemed like a small, silly thing in a part of LA, potentially unaffected, but not, because you see where a lot of these ice raids are happening.
Right.
And that actually felt good. That was a small joy. It was not big and giant. It was just this community thing, and had some of the damn best food I've had in a while. A torta cubana that was delightful and heart attack inducing in the best ways. Nice. So that was in the middle, and that's the only thing I'll say without being out here this week. Because we'll get into the lies, we'll get into the bigger thing, but just being here, it had that sense of no, we are more together in this spread out city. I'll make my jokes too. I haven't been to Santa Monica in 5 years. I haven't been to Venice in 6 to 10 years, maybe. I don't know. Like I can't remember the last time I set foot in Venice. That's the city. That's how big it is. But we are united. And sometimes it takes things like this to do it. I don't know if that feeling continues, if the vibe always carries on, but that's the overall thought. That's the one piece of joy I had.
That's good. And you're definitely not alone in that, it seems. We've on Force Center, your co-hosts and then co-creators, Joseph and Jennifer, also spoke about, you can glimpse it, you can see it, but like life does go on. Like, there's still events, there's still art, there's still joy, there's still kids playing, there's still people in the park, like, and then they so desperately want the narrative to be that it's some insurrection, that it's some battlefield, it's some war, which, we can get right into it. Like, what we're witnessing is a test. This is a test run. It is a prototype for what they would love to happen in all cities that did not support Donald Trump. That's just a fact. Because as we've seen, this is not happening anywhere else. Whereas, and we'll talk about him, we'll talk about Gavin, as he has pointed out, this has been a week full of, you hate to hand it to him, but you got to hand it to him. And he rightfully has pointed out, like, some of these people that are talking all their shit have like double and triple the murder rates in their cities that that LA has, or even that state versus state. And so it's like this is all optics, trying to go after this, the biggest blue state, trying to go after the liberal bastion, trying to go after all this stuff
in those states,
because they won't comply with whatever it is about trans people, whatever it is about ICE, whatever it is about the relationship of federal funding. We're all back and forth, and it's just been like this this clear attempt to control the optics in terms of trying to paint everything as like this thing that needs saving. Like that's the whole thing that Kristi Noem has been pushing. And we'll talk about what happened there at her briefing as well, of like, we need to liberate them from these socialists. It's like, the exact language they use when they send the CIA to kill foreign leaders. Like, this all sounds very alarmist and everything, but it's like, when the language is exact, it's not alarmist, to point that out. Like, that is what they're doing. They're talking about liberating from leadership. Like, this is, the talk of arresting sitting governors. Notice how they've tested that. Let's arrest a judge that helps an immigrant. Let's, slap charges on a representative now with Representative McIver. Now let's, bring a senator to the floor, face down, and cuff him for introducing himself and trying to ask a question, then lying and saying that he didn't introduce himself and that he lunged her.
On camera.
This is the Orwellian fucking nightmare that was described to all of us in middle school and high school. They assign you stuff to read to understand the themes, and then they get mad at you later on when you're an adult and you actually understood them. And it's like, that's what Orwell said. The party asked you to reject the evidence of your eyes and ears.
Right.
That is literally what is happening. And so it's like, how this is up for debate, how we have even people like, Chris Murphy from Connecticut being like, we do have to look at all the evidence. What evidence? We saw it. We saw what's going on. You ask Angelinos, you're all saying, like you said on Force Center this week, it added 30 seconds to a ride that you were on. It is not a battlefield. That's what is there to analyze about that? So that's my starting point, which is like, it is so obvious that this is just a continued power grab of a bunch of fascists. That's what they are.
Yeah. I think I agree with everything you're saying there. And just the Padilla thing is one thing to discuss, but I still, the words she said in that press conference about the liberation of Los Angeles are one of those, like, I think we used to laugh that off, not laugh it off. You know what I mean? Like 5 years, 10 years ago, that would have been like, oh, come on. Well, they keep doing what they say they're going to do. So that's something that we should take into account. And I talked a little bit yesterday. I don't have I don't know if I have all my thoughts formed on any of this as I've seen this unfold this week, of just like, but I know that so many people out there hear her words or see what's going on. They default to the damn dirty rioters control. They fall for the AI photos in the fake news, the literal fake news things that go around fast. I saw one today of Gavin Newsom's wife went to LA to shop for a $4,000 purse. The picture was from 2020. But then there's people that are just like, I won't even say falling for it. Hold on, I think they're saying this and they're going, yay, right? Like, yay! I'm so glad this is happening. And that's what scares me, maybe more than anything. That phenomenon.
There comes a point where, when you talk about the Trump voter, or just the conservative in general, or the apolitical people that clearly aren't, like, there comes a point where we end up in this. The Democrats would love to redeem them, right? A lot of the centrist Dems would love to redeem them. How do we reach them? How do we do all this? How do we stop them from being duped again? Even though this was the third time that many of them voted for him, there comes a point where we have to accept that they are not being duped. Like, there comes a point where we have to accept that many of these people want this. That many of these people, would have fucking failed in an Anne Frank situation. Like, that's not an exaggeration. That is what's happening. They're ratting out the immigrants in their communities. They're going after elementary schools. Apologies if anybody can hear Mando freaking out, by the way. He has a lot of political takes. It's just like the fact that they can send ICE to elementary schools, and then those brave officers can fucking lie and say that they have parental permission to get there. And it's only because the school admin and staff calls bullshit that nothing bad happens. And I'm supposed to what? I'm supposed to respect them. 75 Dems, though, want to vote to congratulate them and thank them. That's what they're doing, right? A resolution to thank them for their bravery. It's like, but we shouldn't call them Nazis, guys. They're just trying to kidnap your first grader. But we shouldn't call them Nazis. Like, it's like ICE should not fucking exist. Someone pointed, like, Shrek is older than ICE. Was one of my favorite posts that went around this week. Like this is not some inevitability. It's not something foundational to America. It's not something that the police needs. It's not a part of law enforcement that has always been there. They need to be abolished. They're being used by a known lying rapist as a Gestapo right now. And it's like, and we have to accept that there are people, to your point, that are happy about it. Like that is in a lot of ways scarier than what's happening. Like, do I think Los Angeles is going to fall anytime soon? Certainly not. Do I think they're going to go after Newsome and arrest him or do worse or anything like that? I don't. No. But like
Tom Homan backed off on that, right?
Exactly, because Newsome rightfully pulled their punk card and it ended very quickly. But it's like, what is scary is what you're talking about. It's the people that are like, yeah, well, this needs to happen because it's out of control. What are you talking about? And and these are, of course, many of the people of the same generation that they get mad at younger people. You guys don't know how to do anything yourselves. You don't know how to work hard or whatever. But you guys don't even know how to discern information. Right. And so the problem is so deep. The brain rot is so deep. Like but I want to preface what I'm about to say by saying that my mom has very good takes and hates these people with a burning passion. But even I saw her get duped by AI yesterday or the day before. She was like, "Oh, look at these pictures of Rihanna and her new kids," and I'm like, "I don't think she's had those kids yet." I was like, "Those are fake babies,"
and she's not in LA burning the cars.
Rihanna and her babies are leading the resistance in LA. So it's like it happens to people of all intelligence levels and across the spectrum. But when you go for this part of the spectrum and this intelligence level, you end up with this. And like, we have to accept that it is like outright racism. Like, I've seen a lot of people still confused. Why is this happening? How could anybody want this? Because they don't fucking like these people because they're brown. They hate them. They hate them. The only foreign nation that you're allowed to support right now is Israel, evidently. Because, we've seen too that language coming from the Republicans this week of they're flying Mexican flags in America. But, Republican congressmen can show up to Congress in an IDF uniform. And like, so that's fine.
Fly the Confederate flags, or
they can have, they can have the Confederate flag, so it's like, we are, how dare they burn the Waymos? But yes, go Israel, bomb Iran, that's great. Bomb whoever you want, start a nuclear war over here. But the Waymos, it's the same thing as the Cybertrucks. Everything that people have said about how the police in our modern world only exist to protect capital is proven more true every single day. And it's mind-blowing. And like, we have the generational difference, of course, and we have the and career difference. Like, you've worked with not these specific people, but the apparatus.
Some of them
probably.
Some of them are on the lines right now. Yeah.
And it's like, so I want to acknowledge that too. And I don't want to come on here and like try to spit the venom of my entire generation about how we feel about the police. But I will say it has never been clearer why our generation feels the way that we do. I also want to play fair, because it's not just, ACAB and the cops fucking suck right now. It's also the people that are supposed to be defending us, Cory Booker doing another speech, preparing more book material so that he can vote to send more weapons to kill kids. They're also doing all their bullshit. condemning violence and talking about how the police should not be cracking down. But they did the same shit before the election on schools across the country. UCLA had a Zionist mob attack a bunch of students, and these same people, utterly quiet, in the same city. But now it's happening, and Donald Trump's doing it. So it's different. Yeah, and that's not a both sidesist thing. That's a power dynamics thing.
Yeah, and I just always want to push for the solutions beyond that stuff. Yeah, but you're absolutely right. That and I think you framed it in the right way of explaining why. You're not just being rageful. You're explaining why and where it comes from. And I think it's important to analyze that. Yeah, absolutely. No, it's if anything, it's like, there's a little bit of the malaise of here we go again. Anytime, you can track a protest. Day one, it's this or that. Then the agitators show up and we know what uniforms they're wearing. And then things start happening. And then the curfew's put over to, like, none of that phases me. Maybe that's a bad thing. It just, like, that's the way it goes. But I do think it's becoming clear that as more rise up, I mean, we saw Trump today, or was it late yesterday, push back or pull back some of the immigration stuff. Like, I've heard from farms that we can't do this, and it's like,
farms and hotels, y'all.
Farms and hotels. And I do. So I think that's a reminder as well. I don't trust them and don't trust nothing. Like you said, even a Supreme Court cannot stop them. But I'm not saying I looked at as hope. I'm just saying I really understand where you're coming from and what you're explaining, and it is on display, right? It is on display. And it has been again, you talk about the constant history repeats, but the ongoing timeline of history, like. Even one of our most famous problems in the 60s was the 1968 Democratic National Convention, where protesters met with this kind of violence. So it has always been, right. It has always been.
That's why
Andor hits, baby. That's why Andor slaps.
That's why history. It's the best. It's the best. It is very good. If it sounds like I'm hating, it's just because I watched the prequels and understood them. But it is just like. Yeah, like the fact that the information couldn't spread the same way and that people were so unaware in the 60s. And then like even in the 90s, like, I mean, you were a conscious young adult during, Rodney King when I was not born. And so it's like the city's been down this road before. In different ways. Different paths.
Yeah, I've changed since then. I'll just say that. Because I had an uncle who was an active LAPD officer during that time, and I heard his stories. He was also there for Watts, and I heard his stories. And when you only see what is happening in front of you and not the bigger issues, that's the thing now. Where like so many people I know or been around, or even me at one point, of just like your gut reaction to a protest is how dare they. And then, someone's going to, the idea of a protest is to disrupt, right? It's to make you uncomfortable. So a brick gets thrown, 5 Waymos get lit on fire. And then that's when the talking points of, we want to protest, but not like this. And that becomes the area where you kind of live, where the issues aren't being discussed. The people of my life who might be against that stuff, they don't even talk about the issues. They just talk about the protests. It scares them. The Rodney King riots should be studied, man. It's crazy stuff there. My friend's dad was the news photographer in the helicopter who captured Reginald Denny getting pulled from his truck and beat to within an inch of his life. And there's so many stories like that. It's a fascinating thing to study. And then that flows into the OJ trial. That flows into what was going on there. And then it's never stopped. We're still dealing with it, right? It is a wound that is never healed. And I'm just glad I was able to eventually hear the reasons why, much like you're saying today, when you get angry, or, you and I do I don't think we disagree. I think it's just, I have a different perspective, I have different experiences, and sometimes I have a different demeanor than you. That's also what we're dealing with here in the world, right? All of us, even here on the same team, in a Big Ten, we have just different demeanors, right? That you and I or other, but if it's easy for me to not listen to your why. You have a great why, and I talked yesterday about younger politicians coming up and running, new faces. You put a great post out about the guy. I do not know his name because I've not followed up in New York.
Zoran Mamdani.
Got it. Thank you. That's going to be. There's going to be more and more of that, and that's encouraging to me because that is your why in action. Mamdani,
Abu Ghazala, names very easy for a young man like yourself to say on a first try.
I'm bad with syllables. I have learned late in life that I probably don't read no goods. So yes, I do know bird law and I'm good at Charlie work.
Look, but broadcasting is about verbal skills. All right, the copy does not need to be written well, as we have both experienced hundreds of times. I'm sure. No, I that's well said too, just on demeanors and everything. And it's like, we are at this point, and the reason why I get into so much of the like perspective stuff is like the analysis of the origin of the anger is, I think, something that the establishment misses entirely. Where they get so focused on to your point of how you've changed and people in your life have changed or not changed. Like they a brick got thrown and that's the story, but it's never like what pushed everybody to that point, because nobody defaults to I'm gonna brain someone with a brick. Like that's just nobody sane defaults to that. Right. And when you're putting they burned the Waymos, and it's like, okay, but then explain to me why the Waymo is more important than the first graders you tried to kidnap. Like that, and you can't explain that to me. And so we end up in this feeling of like, I guess it's an extremely isolating feeling. And I'm not even there, I'm on the other side of the country, but just like societally, when you see these people dragging ass and, and there's, they're writing letters to try to push their colleagues to condemn what happened to Padilla. That's how like drag ass they are. It's not even condemning.
To consider.
We would like you to maybe possibly consider joining us on this day to vote, to condemn, to say that we don't like this. And that makes me feel so alone, Ken. I know we're not alone because in that feeling,
but it's
a lot of us feeling it.
That's what I was feeling this week.
Nobody's going to protect us but us is the overwhelming.
It is that, and I had a conversation yesterday about I think that's why the Superman movie is going to hit a little bit. It's going to provide not just hope or false positivity, but the idea of we all could be Superman. What I'm feeling this week too, that is probably tremendously in line with where you've been for a while, is when I say things like the cycle of a protest. I'm not saying that cynically and that you shouldn't protest. I'm just saying it is a here we go again, right? And I was watching from 2023 on Netflix. They have the Waco doc, and I've never really sat down and watched it. It's always weird. It happened on my birthday. The Oklahoma City bombing, which is absolutely connected to that, happened on my birthday. And so I have this weird, like foggy memory of my birthday being ruined by this horrible thing in the world. So I watched it, and there's all the stuff, and God, the Fed's messed up, but also you got this weird cult going on, and there's a lot of things. I recommend people watch it. Yeah. But at one point towards the end, because there's a giant mess up from the ATF and Janet Reno and Clinton and all that stuff. Who's criticizing it? Who's at a committee? It's Chuck Schumer. No glasses, but it's Chuck Schumer with more brown hair.
Glasses.
Just going, we need to find out who did this. Things were done wrong. And I'm like, we're still there. We're still there. It's been 30 years, and that becomes disheartening, and why I look for the people to take the why and put into action more.
Yeah. And I don't want this show to go on forever because, again, this is not a solutions episode. This is unpacking an episode, unpacking our feelings. I need everybody to watch this to understand, and I think our audience does understand. But if you happen to be finding this, like, we are not we're brushing up against fascism. We're not we could be heading toward a constitutional crisis. We are in one. This is a fascist regime. It's not an exaggeration. It was they've made good on everything they've ever said. Everything, and I think that's another thing too this week. And again, I'll bring up Chris Murphy. Chris, man, I get it, dude. I'm a fellow son of Connecticut. We're not fighters. I understand that. Like,
we like our ice cream.
Yeah, we like ice cream. We like nutmeg. We like Gilmore Girls. I get it. I understand. Even though Stars Hollow is not a real town, that is pretty fucking accurate to the way a lot of those towns are. But it's like the fact that he's out there like, guys, what's happening in LA is a distraction because they're trying to pass a massively unpopular bill. It's like, it could all be true, Chris. It can all be true. And it is. It is all true. Yeah. The distraction thing is valid to a point, but it can be both distracting and true. If a gorilla broke into my house, it would distract me from the fact that I'm broke. But like, they are true.
What?
Like, it would be immediate and it would be bad.
It
would be violent.
Who sent the gorilla? My bank.
But I would like the gorilla smashed through my door. I'm not gonna be like, this is a distraction from my financial woes. Like, no, motherfucker, the gorilla will kill you. We settled that debate online. The gorilla wins. It's just like I don't understand why.
I keep going back to that. You got to find 100 men who are willing to bite gorilla flesh. You've got to bite. You got to win with the bite.
Not to litigate a now weeks old meme, which is years in internet time, but I don't think men win because men, as we've seen, deep down they are all Boromir. They're all fallible. Like and Boromir's great, good guy, but like man will see the gorilla take out, maybe cripple one of their comrades, and man will get scared. It'll act on its own self-interest. People will run away. That gorilla out of the 100 men only really needs to clear about 40. Because I think 60 turn coat, run away, try to save themselves. Yeah. So it's just David Mackay. Not again. The gorilla discourse. Sorry. But yes, back on topic, as Eli says, a distracting crisis is indeed both distracting and a crisis. Yeah, like these people cannot walk and chew bubblegum. You have Hakeem Jeffries on the news talking about what's happening with Israel bombing Iran, and he's like, I just hope cooler heads prevail in the Middle East. Motherfucker, I hope cooler heads prevail there and here. Why is it that you can only focus on what's happening with Netanyahu? I know he pays for everything for you, but it's just like, you are supposedly a leader, right? Like, talk about the fact that somebody just got, dragged out. Like, this is as you all love to say, right? This is what happens in third world countries. Well, it's happening right now, here, right now. Talk about more than one thing.
Everyone should be down there. That was my thought. Is everyone should have just, after that happened, they all should have left their offices, flown in, and gone to.
Just shut the government down. Shut the government down. It does not make sense to try to treat things like it's business as usual. So
I'm not making a half joke, but like we all have grown up with the images of other countries where parliament starts getting into fistfights. Like, let's do it.
Yes.
Let's do it.
Yeah. There's that clip I love.
It's just normal.
There's the clip I love from British Parliament. This was years ago, where there's like somebody who's British. I guess it's on you, Maddie, to tell me about like what this is. But like, there's like a ceremonial mace in Parliament that gets like placed in a certain place. That's like from obviously centuries ago, and like somebody got up in the middle of someone else's speech and went and grabbed the ceremonial mace, and everyone was like, "All right, calm down,
all right then, culturally Ashby." Yeah.
No, it's just so disheartening to see the way that they just continue to not meet the moment. And it's having both thoughts in your head at the same time, right? Because on the one hand, it's important to, as you and many other Angelinos have pointed out, it is not a battle. It is not a crisis. It is not burning. It is not an insurrection. Like, it's important to clarify they are fucking lying. But at the same time, you should also at the same time have the thought of, but they shouldn't be doing what they're doing at all. They shouldn't be trying to turn it into what it is, because that's what they want. That's why they take control of the National Guard, and then the federal court rules in Newsom's favor. Oh, but now there's a veto, and now there's
appeals court.
Appeals court. Yeah, so we're back and forth on that. Let's talk about Gavin real quick. Let's talk about Gavin.
Good old slick hair. Yeah, let's do it.
As Eli just calls him Governor Television, which is really what he is in a lot of ways. I want to put caveats on this to say that I'm still mad at him. I still think he's a big asshole. I think his whole podcast enterprise is a fucking joke. I think he's been horribly irresponsible. I think he's betrayed trans people outright. He's betrayed the unhoused outright. And I think that he is largely an opportunist scumbag. However, and it's like, it's one of those things where a lot of young progressives and young lefties, of which I am one, I'm in that spectrum somewhere. I'll let the other young lefties decide where I am, because that's their favorite hobby, is to try to exclude and to try to live. Oh, but you're not a Marxist, Leninist, Maoist, dude. Let's just beat the Nazis. All right,
Marxist, okay.
Let's just fucking
shouldn't be.
Let's just relax. Let's just relax.
Marx one thing.
So yeah. So it's like, we are at this point now where I'm not saying, like, I don't want to be like so like a cheesy Facebook post to be like, you have to accept imperfect allies. It's not that. He's still a fucking asshole. But it's also like I am okay with, in the effort to stall and gum up the works and hopefully defeat and just make the fascist lives hell, I will take somebody doing what he's done. And credit also to Pritzker and some other people. And obviously, like, on the smaller level, we mentioned Zoran Mamdani. Obviously, AOC's been out there. Obviously, Bernie's been on the oligarchy tour. Obviously, Jasmine Crockett's been fighting. Like, it's not just Gavin, but like, for somebody to use language like "come arrest me, tough guy" is kind of like that. How do we speak to, you know, the regular Joes? Like, it kind of is that of like, he is, they took to pull their punk cards and call their bluffs as much as possible is necessary. And I feel like that's, again, it's a multiple truths thing of like, I don't like you. However, I wish more people were doing what you're doing. I think he is good at being a wrestling babyface who realizes that the moment is now. He's good at getting in front of a camera because it's clearly where he loves being. He is like, if you asked a West Wing fan to write fan fiction and invent a guy, and like that's what Gavin Newsom is, and he's up there now, meeting the moment in a way that do I want him in the 2028 field? No, but can I deny that he has probably sparked the most momentum out of anybody for said field? Probably, yeah.
No, I'm in alignment on this issue with you as well. I always say I don't really care for him too, just because he nobody's perfect. No movie's perfect, Alden, except for Young Guns 2. But there's too many trip ups that just undercut a lot of his own points, right? Of just who he is and this, that, and I agree with you on his selling out of the trans community, the unhoused issue. His optics on that were bad. It's as in any big city, there is kind of this, well, what do we do? And it's a capitalism problem, right? And no one's prepared to fix that. And it is what it is, and I agree with you on all of it. But I like where you're at with that, because I am too. Because I just like, if we just need that big dog on the playground to go bark, bark, bark. I think it's effective. And if he's a little bit of a Dark Knight, where everyone on that team is going to yell at him and they hate him and they hate new scum. The amount of people I know in my life who have moved out of California and number one cited reason was new scum. Like, good riddance, by the way, too. I'm right there. It was needed this week. So I'm with you on it. It's complicated, right? It is like wrestling, and it's truly, this is the game. But you're right. There's other people who are doing it. Other people that should. I'd like to see them out there more. I'd like to. Senator Caroline Menjivar was actually out at some events. Someone I know, someone who used to work with me. She's great at that. I'd like to see more of that, right? That's why I like Alex Padilla. Voted for him, I voted for him, and I like to see that he did that. And even I don't know what he thought the intended result was. I don't know. I'm not accusing him of being performative, to be clear, but I'm just like that. I'm glad that happened. That should have happened that way. If that makes sense, Alden. It should have more of that then. Yeah. Every Jasmine Crockett soundbite is a win for me. Every AOC's growth and the people behind her, it's a win for me. Every crowd that's at a Bernie rally, I think, is a win for me. And every soundbite of a very pompous Newsom, because that's why they hate him too. Everyone I know, like, oh, he's so pompous. Yeah, he's right, and we need that guy because he voted for the pompiest of the pompiest. Yeah,
and he's handsome, and he's like, and again, and this is the litmus. Like, I saw a post today that I I also experienced what the post said, which was the person was saying on Blue Sky, I've never seen so many of my quote unquote apolitical and like libbed up friends like suddenly be like so plugged into a guy. Like I haven't seen that in a long time. And I my sister was on the phone with my mother the other day, and my sister, who, you know, I say this with love, like doesn't really fucking know much about like these people's names and things like that. But she was like, oh, and do you see the governor of California? What he was saying, like those were her exact words, and she doesn't know who Gavin Newsome is, but like it's breaking through, and that's big.
Yeah, and this goes on to be clear. You know, you and I have had conversations too around, and I don't even think, again, I don't think you and I differ. We just have different perspectives, but where I'm just like, because of my own journey, I'm always like, I do want to hope for people to change, and I don't know how to sometimes affect that. I don't.
Sure.
And I also think you're right. We need more Tim Walz calling people weird, and we need more of what you're seeing going on in the New York governor race. And it's governor, right? Not mayor.
No,
I don't live there.
It's mayor, but Cuomo was the governor.
Was the governor. That's why I'm confused. I apologize to all my New Yorkers. Kat Abou-Ghazaleh, all that stuff I see, like, I think that's the right direction. But there was something that went around, and again, it's an anecdote I cannot verify, but someone was putting out a great story of speaking to a mid-50s second-generation Mexican-American based in Texas, and their two young sons who are not dumb, they're not this, but they listen to Rogan, this and that, and they only have grown up in this Trump era, and they see politics as a blood sport. This was this line in it, because they're also MMA fans, and they see politics as a blood sport, which is dangerous, because then you are so easily to be disconnected from the actual whys. But according to the story that I can't verify, but it was just this thread I was reading on Blue Sky. Maybe someone else in chat saw it too, because it was making the rounds. These two boys, these two young 20-year-olds are, for the first time ever, going, what the fuck's happening? I might be targeted just because of what I look, even though I've worked really hard to, in my mind, assimilate, that's something I don't live with because it's not my experience. You might know more than me, but you know what I mean? And there's like, whoa, we're in danger now too. We did everything right. What are you talking about? We played your game. And whether that's 100% true or not, whether it's an anecdote, whether it's a social media story, I do think that some of the stuff we're talking about Newsome and everything, what you're talking with your sister, which is direct, one-to-one, I think that's part of, if I can say there's a benefit this week, is that it's so egregious. Everything that's happening is so... we have Trump say, I'm so glad I sent the National Guard and the Marines because I stopped that city from burning down. And everyone's going, we all have fucking phones, man. Alex Padilla didn't lunge. You can't report fuck them. I'm someone who's written a lot of reports in my day. And let me tell you something, you can use words that really fuck people, right? Yeah. But you can't because it's there. Hi, Senator Alex Padilla. He didn't identify himself. Hi, Senator Alex Padilla. And anyways, all that with the Newsome to close it on my rant to Newsome, like that's the benefit of what I think he's doing. He's reaching the people who see it as a game and are now for the first time being maybe awakened to what's going on.
Yeah, and I think to your point about like where we differ just approach wise is that you talked about like your lived experience. Is that what I've realized is that, and ironically. Because a lot of the times it's like, if there's a pair of co-hosts and you've got one young buck and one veteran and everything, like
you are the hot young weather girl to my grizzled anchor, Alden.
Precisely, that's what I'm going for. But stereotypically, I should have more hope than you, right? But sometimes where we differ is that you actually have more hope than me, which is fascinating, and it's a hope that people can be redeemed. Not in a, stupid, saturn like everybody deserves a second chance. It's not that, but like you'll still sometimes because you had a foot in a different world, will say like I think they can still be reached. Whereas because all three of my big election cycles as an adult have been under fascism, I'm like, no. We knew when he came down that escalator and he said that Mexicans are rapists and they all clapped and cheered. You cannot reach these fucking people.
Yeah.
And I wish sometimes that I believed more in them. It's sort of like, I was talking to...
But can I just say right there?
No, yeah.
I'm with you too, because I, for the most part, don't. And that's part of my frustration is not even holding on to the ideals of hope, though I do have a hope shirt and all that stuff, and I like hope, and Star Wars is about hope. But yeah, no, that's part of my frustration is you get so close, they get so close, but then they pull back because it's just normal. But anyways, I cut you off, but I agree with you.
No. I was just gonna add, like, I was talking to my friend the other day who I've mentioned before on the show, who's like super religious, and we were just talking about faith and everything, and she, in 15 years of friendship, has never tried to convert me or push anything on me or anything like that, but we will sometimes get into it. And I said, like, I think that sometimes people of a lot of faith look at people like me with no faith and assume that we're all the smug internet atheist that looks down on them. And I'm not that. I don't feel like, sometimes I get shitty about it because of how they use and weaponize faith. But like, the truth of the matter is that I wish I had some faith. I would love that. It seems very comforting. It seems nice. And so it's like, I look at that and I'm like, I wish that I believed that we were going to be good, like ontologically. That's a $5 word, ontologically.
I don't even know what it means. I'm a $1 guy.
Ontologically is like a universal. It's like a universally true, like cosmically true.
That's
like
neat. Does that when you
it's like in Star Wars, it is an ontological fact that the galaxy bends toward the light. Yeah, like that's ontologically true.
Yeah. I wish I could help you on that, because I still have strong beliefs that aren't necessarily tied to one thing, and they're expanding, and but also there's reason not to, right?
Yeah. But with that, I say that to say that I wish that sometimes, whenever I see any form of hope, whether it's faith or just like belief in certain people, or like, I'm like, I wish that we had not. I wish the ring had never come to me. But that is kind of how it feels in certain times. And I love that meme that's like, it says like, I wish the ring had never come to me. Was it Gandalf's like, LMAO, well, it has, like, things like, like, you can't fucking change it at the end of the day. Like, it's like, I was born in 95, and I'm doomed now to deal with 2025. Like, that's the luck of the draw.
Yeah, and that's some of it where I live, where like, well, it is here. Yeah, it is here. So that's why I aim sometimes for solutions, and I might bristle up against it's all bad. Yeah, it is. But we're here now. What do you want to do with the ball going forward? What do we want to do? How? What's the why? For me, it's understanding. That's my biggest change from listening to understanding. And you're just getting outside, and focusing on, going back to the Rodney King situation. If I'm being blunt and honest, like, focusing on the actual arrest was easy. It's an easy thing to go, well, as opposed to the absolute decades, if not centuries, of history that led to that moment. and not engaging with that. It was easy to focus, because you could easily, if you understand my words, you could easily write it off. He should have stayed down. He should have blind. He was driving massively reckless speeds, all this stuff. Like, you could focus on that and live in that world the entire life, as opposed to not pulling back. And it's hard to find hope when you pull back, right?
And that's also like, where do you have, not to litigate a case again from before I was born, but it's just like, with that, or with what we're seeing now with the way that ICE treats people, it's like, they earned the title of Gestapo with the way that they operate. And I guarantee you, every single one of those fucking goose stepping morons probably also said that they weren't going to mask up because during the pandemic, because that's tyranny, right? And now they love to fucking mask up because they're cowards. Because every single one of them is a coward. So you look at the way that they operate, and it's like, connecting it to Rodney King and to all these incidents, to George Floyd, to all these incidents, there is nothing. And this is also a generational thing, not to say between you and I, but just en masse. There's nothing that any of these people could do that would justify what's happening to me and to a lot of people. Like, this was something that I was really happy to see Kat Abu Ghazala say when she was on the news talking about healthcare, where they tried to like gotcha her, and they were like, so you think that illegal immigrants should have healthcare? She was like, yes. There's nothing you could tell me about their status that would stop me from wanting this. And similarly, there is nothing that you can tell me, absolutely nothing that you could tell me that would get me to say that this is how we should operate. Right. I have moral clarity on this issue. And in the same way that there is nothing you can tell me about Palestinians en masse, I don't care who their government is. It's a child, it's a mom, it's a doctor, it's a whoever. There's nothing you could tell me that would justify the actions. And that's going to be, I think, the breaking point where it's like, there is no amount of, I don't care if Los Angeles was being invaded. You do not do what you're trying to do with first graders. You do not leave, you don't drag screaming moms into cars while they're yelling that their child is in school and therefore won't know who's picking them up. Like, picking them up, there's nothing that justifies that. Yeah. And it's like, there has to come a point where like we look at the people that are supposedly representing us and say, like, you either get on board or like we don't need you. And it might take a long time, but we will replace all of the Cuomos. We will replace all the Hillarys. We will replace all the Joes, all the Hakeems, all the Chucks. We'll replace all of you. Even, and there's going to be people that get hurt along the way, and it's going to take a lot of time, but it's like there has to be some sort of clarity on this issue and some sort of reclaiming of like, especially when as we've talked about in the show a lot with like masculinity and things like that and how important that is right now. We have to spend millions to figure out how to talk to men. We have to spend millions to figure out why the 20-year-old men are Rogan pilled. We have to spend millions. You really don't. You really don't. ICE agents are pussies. People that stand up for the little guy are real men. I just solved it for you. There you go. There you go.
I agree. No, what you're talking about is what I talk about often about in the new voices in the next generation, and that's, I think, the big dividing line of there's no justification. This is what we feel, and we're not going to be pushed off of that. I think it's pretty powerful, and I think that will be the big change. And that's why, and that is why I think you're seeing more of divide. I think that's why it's more other than just social media and the cycle that live in everything. But that those are the conversations we're all having, right? Like, no, this is not even just the line. This is how I view it. Healthcare, right? Why I do not accept that healthcare. If I get hurt today or need to go to the emergency room, but I don't have a full-time job, I don't accept that I don't get care or that I have to pay for care. I don't accept that.
And you don't accept it for anybody else either.
Anyone else.
And that's the whole thing of too, is that like that was the Bernie 2020 point. Vote for someone you don't know. It was a great point. It was a great line.
Great line. Great bumper sticker. But having been part of conversations and being on the other side of that, I was on the other side of that. I'm not just talking about terms of voting, but in just thought process of, well, you know, I earned my health care. I work hard for it. And it's like, I used to think that in a job that I hated, that was sucking my soul away. Then I had another job with healthcare, and then that job I lost that job, right? And so suddenly it finds you. It finds you. And you're like, oh, I've never been in this position in my life before.
Yes.
Unfortunately, that was the brick to my head. I did, you know, and then it changed the conversations. But what
very
you're talking
equalizing.
about is
harsh equalizer.
Yeah.
And I, you know, with that, like in the wake of the Los Angeles conversation, or here in Florida, of course, too, with immigrant communities all over and everywhere as immigrant communities, but just in these you know, hot button places, it's like the language too is always based in that, right? It's always like, we're not talking about this. We're talking about hardworking people who came. And again, that's another generational thing. I don't give a single fuck if it's the hardest working immigrant or an immigrant that has never lifted a finger for anything. I do not care if it's somebody that snuck across the border and hangs out at the AMC Burbank all day watching movies. I do not care about the level of productivity that they bring here, because that again is loving capital. That's what that is. It's not loving people. I don't care, and I don't think that my generation does either. And it's going to take a lot of unfucking. It's going to take a lot of unfucking, because that's been a big thing. They came here the right way has been like the line forever. I mean, not to litigate Kamala's campaign again, as I have 100 times, but it's just like her and many others, like the Democrats in their effort to try to win people back, they've adopted border language. they went from in 2016, like how awful it is to build a wall, to bragging about how much more wall Barack built. Like they you know, like they literally this week you saw people in the wake of the Los Angeles situation when the National Guard came in, they were like, Barack Obama deported 3.5 million, I think it's 3.5 million people and never had to do this. That's not a brag. That's not a brag. So
right.
It's gonna take a long time to unlearn that. I don't think I have much more to say about this before we start to close out. A couple things that I starred here in the chat. Obviously, of course, love to Padilla and his family in the wake of what happened there. I don't know what channels he has, but I saw some people's faces in that video, and I'm just saying, if you could slap a suit on those bitches, you might as well. Like at this point, there's no sense in just giving a speech.
Yeah. I was talking a little bit yesterday, having trained and been involved in well over 1,000 arrests in my lifetime. We were always trained like number one, you can't put handcuffs on for someone else's safety. That can control the situation, this and that. But we were always trained. If you do that, even if I say the words to you, stop, as opposed to, hey, do you mind talking to me for a second? You are in the area of arrest. That's detention, and it's all kind of the same, and it can all kind of come out in the wash in a bad way. So don't stop anyone, or don't choose your words wisely, and don't put handcuffs on them. My boss, one of my bosses used to always say, if you do, follow through with the rest to the end and let it get sorted on the other side. Because if you don't, you might be held liable for a false arrest. And so I saw that. I was like, that would be a great training video. I would have used that training video in the old days.
Yeah, right.
Not with the arrest itself. Handcuff. I'll say this: handcuffing's not easy, and it's always messy, and that's why it looks more violent than people I think expect. Trust me on that one. But I was like, because I saw the headline, I was like, oh, they arrested him. Then the thing was, oh no, they didn't. I was like, well, we used to get sued for that. We used to get sued for that. I've been in lawsuits. Not with me,
training
but
video
just as a representative of or someone who was in charge of someone else. And like, okay, so I agree with you on that. That's not just
the training video starts like, now watch as he totally does not lunge at the dog killer. It's like,
the dog killer.
This woman is a psychopath. Charlie points out Labor's done it hardcore here in the UK. It's disgusting in an effort to win people over who won't vote for them anyway. Yeah, man. Yeah, that's every day, man. Here, that's the rant. Maddie Gunner says the right way. 3 weeks ago, my visa application was going to take 8 more months. This week's now it's 14. The right way is bullshit. Yeah, man. I know Maddie's trying to come here. I knew someone who came here. She was 7 years old.
Yeah,
and she didn't become a citizen until she was in her mid-20s. And it's like, thousands and thousands and thousands and thousands and thousands of dollars, constant delays. The move from coming here as a kid to then getting this level to then getting finally that, and she's lucky that she did that. You know, during I think she became a citizen in Biden's first year or something like that. She's lucky. You know.
Yeah, no, that's a longer. There was a conversation I had years ago when I was the director of security and the head of the housekeeping department was a friend of mine, and we'd have lunch. And then I just had one because I was starting to see the world more. I was outside. I've been in LA a couple of years now and exposed to a lot of things I didn't understand. And we're talking. He was from El Salvador. We're talking about people from El Salvador and people from Mexico, and there was always some tension. And there's sometimes fights would break out at the market and everything. Like, and I was just like, I don't understand it. Me, white boy from suburbs, and he explained it. And he explained about what exactly what Maddie said. I'm trying to get my mother here the right way, and it's taken 7 years, and this and that, and therefore he hated the quote illegals jumping over. And I bet you, I haven't talked to him in years. I bet you he's MAGA now.
Probably.
And it was just fascinating to get that and
why it's complete self-loathing. Like it's like I put on Blue Sky this week. I'm Puerto Rican. Puerto Ricans have a different path because they're colonized and they're a U.S. territory, and isn't it great? But they, so it's different for us. But like the head of Latinos for Trump being like, this is not what we voted for. It's like, yeah, you did. Very explicitly.
Yeah.
They sold signs, official signs. Yeah. Official.
Yeah.
You did vote for it. Don't fucking, you're a fucking traitor. Don't walk it back now.
Yeah.
But it comes from that self-loathing. It comes from I worked hard
Yeah.
that
it was
we
just
talked about, like,
it made me
healthcare,
think of that,
things.
and we all get sucked into that, and it's vote for someone you don't know.
Yeah.
Vote for someone you don't know, Alden.
You gotta vote for people you don't know. Dylan Barry
right.
says, "Did I miss the Dua Lipa engagement?" Yeah, you did.
You
The
did.
long and
You
short
did.
of it is, that's the most beautiful woman on God's green earth, and I look forward to her in a wedding dress. The last two things I started, Charlie, rightfully, thank you for bringing this up. Rest in peace, Brian Wilson, because I forgot to write that down. Obviously, Brian Wilson and Sly Stone in the same week is massive musical forces.
Yeah, this week on Pop Rockin' Radio, I've got 3 songs from Sly and the Family Stone, all political, though you didn't know it at the time. Yes. I grew up as a little kid in the suburbs who loved Stand by Sly and the Family Stone. Love that song, Stand. It is a protest song.
Yeah.
Their 1971 album or 72 album is There's a Riot Going On. It's
and highly recommend Questlove's documentary from this year, Sly and the Burden of Black Genius on Hulu.
Ooh, I'm gonna have to watch that. Oh, that's gonna be amazing. I was just looking for more Sly. Yeah, Sly's interesting, complicated, tragic, and sometimes but and Brian Wilson too. A whole nother story there on genius and mental health and all those things. On Pop Rockin' Radio this week, I got tributes to both of them. So
hell yeah, looking forward to that. Much love to all of our families and their fans and people inspired by them. And finally, we're going to end on a very important note. Producer Steve paid $5 real American dollars to ask me this question. He said, "Don't want to interrupt." It's okay, Steve. Don't worry. I saved you for the end. "Don't want to interrupt. A question for Alden for research purposes. How many chugga-chuggas before you chew-chew?" Now, I don't know what the hell this is. I don't know what this is. I don't know if this is a bit. But I'm going to answer it in earnest. Okay, so are you asking me? The way I'm reading this is you're asking me about the actual onomatopoeia, the sound of a train, of chugga chugga choo choo. And what I will say is, in my head, it should be 6 chuggas before.
But you just did chugga chugga choo choo. You just did 2.
Just in terms of the framing of the question, chugga chuggas before you choo choo. But in my head, when I think about a train, it's chugga 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 choo choo. That's how it sounds in my brain.
That's kind of where I went.
And then a choo choo.
That's kind of where I went. I can't remember. Steve might remember my actual numbers, but I think mine was somewhere like 4 to 6 and 2 choo choos.
It has to be never more than 2 choo choos. More than 2 choo choos is blasphemous. I don't understand. Who's doing more than 2 choo choos? I don't know. It was Steve. Where was I? Because I was like chugga chugga chugga. But also, there's sometimes you do it where it's like the train's starting. It's leaving station. Chugga 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 chugga. That's true. Like that's true. Chugga 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 chugga. Yeah, I'm still coming out on 6. Charlie says it's 8. I mean, maybe over there when you guys add a U to a bunch of words, I don't need a U. Chuga chugga, chuga chugga, chuga chugga. It's chuga. It's chuga. 2 to 4 from Nick. Oh, and Dave McKay's throwing in a choo choo and 2 chews. 1 choo choo, choo choo. Choo choo. Oh, I don't. What? Interesting, David McKay. I'm not sure about the single chew. Oh, I was a 3 to 4. Chugga 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 choo choo. Yeah, I did do 4 yesterday. 3 to 4. He was a fast train, but you enjoy every minute of the ride, no doubt, no doubt. Charlie says we invented the fuckers. Yeah, we invented. Well, all right. Charlie might be right. He might be right. Maddie says the chuggas take longer over there, though. You have an extra big chug. You have a thick, girthy chugga. There we go. I did. Jerry says I did 3 choo choos at a house music festival. Woke up a week later in Nevada. Perfect. Yes, sometimes you That's choo too hard. All right. Make sure you chug yourself before you chew yourself, y'all. Oh, you were saying 2 choo choos, but you meant 2 choo choos or 1 choo choo. Yeah. 2 chews. Oh, okay. Choo choo. Okay. Got it. I love it. Right. Great stuff. We're almost out of here. By that, I mean we're out of here. But Alden and I will be back live in about an hour and a half. Casually Talk going live today as we take our own questions and then clip those out. So pop over there if you want some Game of Thrones talk. Yeah. Yeah. Godspeed.
Godspeed, rebels.